Alright, so funny enough, a second game I was playing through recently got a new edition of the game announced towards the end of my playthrough, that being Red Dead Redemption. Got some gameplay pre-recorded in the background of me just stirring up some chaos, as you do in a lot of Rockstar games, but yeah, this one hit a little differently just because it was something I definitely would have been willing to buy on PC and Steam over 10 years ago. Never played all the way through, was almost waiting for a bit for that release to happen. And maybe I'm just stupid, but when I saw the port they did earlier this year on the modern home consoles, I thought that was the nail in the coffin for the PC version. So I gave up, decided to finally check this one off the backlog, and of course, my luck, they finally resolved whatever was holding back the PC port. I think the rumors were that they lost the source code or something, which would have made it difficult to impossible to porting to other platforms without remaking the entire game. And I don't think we'll ever get the full story as to what went down. I feel like it would be an interesting one of just sort of the behind the scenes, but I don't know, I guess technology and resources became efficient enough to make it viable now. Like I said, I played through a bit of the game in the past. First, my one neighbor had the game, and me and some other people would go over. And when we were bored of GTA, we would cause chaos in the Wild West instead. Eventually, I got it myself when it just became more difficult for us to all get together in that. I actually didn't remember making it that far in the campaign on my own. I was thinking when I started replaying everything that I probably only made it, a mission or two in Armadillo, the first big city you reach, or, big city for a Western game. But no, as I'm playing through it and things kind of click, I vaguely remember some of the stuff. And it wasn't really till right before the Fort Mercer mission that things felt entirely fresh and new and, just not familiar anymore. Which, like I said, was a bit further than I was expecting, honestly. But yeah, I had really high expectations for this game, honestly. Oh, yeah, right here. I forgot how to drag someone with the lasso when you're on a horse there. I figured it out eventually. I thought there you had to like tie them while on the ground to a horse, but you sort of just lasso them while you're on the horse and just keep riding. But yeah, with how good my first experiences with the game were, with how beloved it is, and I know Rockstar North is the team that does GTA, but Rockstar Games, just all of the different branches have decent reputations. I think this came from actually the Midnight Club team, interestingly enough. So, there's a good level of quality there, little trust, at least at the time. And somehow my expectations were exceeded, honestly. The comparison you always hear is it's like Grand Theft Auto, but in the Wild West. And that's true. And if you play the way I used to play or the way I'm playing here, and you just go around stirring trouble, getting into chases with the authorities, yeah, there's a few differences, but for the most part, it'll be very familiar. But it's like after diving into the story and the different mechanics and this great open world, it just became so much more than that for me, I feel like. I mean, yeah, some of the progression similar and UI elements, but it does have a much different feel than I expected. And I felt like, honestly, I liked it a little bit better than GTA, honestly, when I got into it. I liked even some of the convenience things that I don't even remember GTA 5 having, like, calling a taxi to quick travel can be a bit of a pain in the ass sometimes. I felt like the whole campfire system and being able to save while you're at it was just, more efficient and better. And the bounty system too was just a lot more fun. And even the random events. I mean, the bounty particularly because to do them in GTA, you need to steal a cop car, which isn't always convenient. Here, you just need to visit one of the bigger towns. And then you have more options too. Like, I don't remember in GTA if you can find a way to take your bounties or certain antagonists and random events alive. But here, you have that option, and it adds just a lot more depth for, risk versus reward. I feel like those options almost just made the world feel more alive in a way. I can only think of one complaint, and it's probably more of a personal issue, honestly. Oh yeah, because this was actually kind of funny too, because I was going to try to lasso that guy with this cart, but then you can't do it from the cart. You have to be riding a horse. I think I found out. Yeah, right here. It's kind of funny. They really just didn't want me to figure it out, I guess. Or maybe I'm just stupid, but the game is divided into 4 chapters, or whatever they actually call them. And you knew chapter 1 wasn't the end. You saw this whole other slab of land, which would wind up being Mexico, that you haven't even explored yet. I don't even remember if you could. I'm pretty sure I tried at some point, but I don't remember the answer. I remember going to this location in Undead Nightmare and not remembering if I visited in base game, but I guess I did. I was wondering if there would be any major differences, which is why it may have felt new, but yeah, no, it looks about the same as it was there. The rail station here, but I feel like the transition from chapter 2 to 3 and 3 to 4 could have been better. Because both times at the end of those chapters, I felt like the game was ending. And I think a lot of people would think that's a good thing. Like, oh, you're really enjoying a game and now there's going to be even more of it. At the same time, I feel like I almost psyched myself out to where, I'm expecting it to end. And I'm almost, mentally moving forward with, getting ready to play Undead Nightmare or whatever else I'm looking into. And then it just kept going. I mean, luckily, I was able to get back into it decently easily, at least chapter 3. Chapter 4 was kind of shorter and just different gameplay loop, even. I didn't really get that into that chapter, honestly. And like I said, I wish, that they may have, set the groundwork a little more for the next chapters. Introduce certain characters, bring up certain plot elements. They might have done this a little, but it wasn't enough to where I really thought anything of it, especially with a lot of other loose ends being tied up with the story around those points. And I don't know, I just wish I could have enjoyed and was just more mentally there, I guess, when I started chapter 3 specifically. And then there's Undead Nightmare. I really like when studios get really creative and sometimes out there with ideas and concepts. And this is probably the craziest we've seen Rockstar, just as a whole, to this point. I mean, it sounds and it is a very surprising but fun addition. I don't have too much to say here. I don't know if this was normal for like most people or if it's what they intended or whatnot, but for me, the game almost at this point became a pseudo kind of beat 'em up game, I guess you can call it. Because you can only kill with headshots, and I suck at headshots, so I was reliant on the melee headshots and the torch they give you for melee combat. Which, I wasn't expecting my sort of gameplay loop to be mixed around that much with this, but it was fun. Even though there's stuff like Dead Rising out there that do the zombie beat 'em up hack and slash more melee based combat better, it's still really fun and refreshing to just experience this world and engine and everything with such a crazy twist to not just the tone, but the gameplay for me at least as well. I actually kind of liked it too because I don't know if you can really see here, but there's some enemies that you can't really headshot that are heavier, and some of the smaller ones you can't really. Oh, I said it the wrong way. The heavier ones you can't catch on fire with a torch, but the lighter ones you can't really catch for a melee headshot. So you kind of have to efficiently swap back and forth between the two as well if you go this approach. My only complaint here was that there was a couple required gather materials missions, which they were mainly sub stories in base game. They were the only ones I didn't do. I normally do the sub stories in pretty much every game I play, but just wasn't very fun, especially too when you have animations when you're looting and that to push through each time. Luckily, one of the side missions I didn't do yet, and it was kind of in the area, so it kind of worked out there for at least the one set of items you needed to collect from the world itself. I also didn't max out all of the side activities either. That's something I tend to not do when I play a game either. I check it out once or twice, get my fix, and move on. But there was, outfits and different stuff that reward mastery of those sorts of things if you like it. But yeah, I know some of this is stuff you've probably heard before. A lot of people right now, if you're even remotely familiar with the discussion around some of the best games of all time, you're well aware of some of these details and that. But I can't believe this is it's probably beat GTA 4 as my favorite Rockstar game, which isn't a small feat. That's GTA 4 was one of my favorite games of all time. Probably top 10, top 15, and that means this obviously hit that hard too. So